Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to your favorite news destination. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi. And on the show tonight, we're going to talk about the UGC rules. The Supreme Court has pressed pause on these UGC equity regulations, but it seems like the political and the social fault lines are only getting sharper. Let's break that down for all our viewers. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. The Supreme Court has stayed the University Grants Commission's new equity regulations, raising fundamental questions about how we define and fight discrimination in our educational institutions. The court didn't reject the intent behind these rules. Instead, it questioned whether they were written clearly enough or not, whether they might be misused, and whether they accidentally left some students without protection whilst trying to protect the others. Let's break that down for what the court said, what the petitioners are worried about, and what are the supporters of these rules claiming? Well, the bench, led by Chief Justice Surya Kant himself and Justice Joy Malia Bagchi, heard the petitions challenging these rules. Now, the court observed that the provisions are vague and they're open to misuse. They asked why certain categories were isolated whilst others, like ragging, were seemingly overlooked. The court essentially said that writing rules about discrimination requires more than legal drafting. It requires deep understanding of society itself, and in this context, directed to form a panel with 2 to 3 eminent jurists to look into these rules. And the core of the legal battle lies in how we view protection in the first place. Petitioners argue that by specifically defining caste-based discrimination for only certain groups, the rules exclude general category students. They also said there is already a general definition of discrimination in Regulation Part 1, Subclause E. So, the separate caste-based one is not needed and could create problems in the future. This potentially violates the right to equality under Article 14 as well. But on the other hand, those defending the regulations said that they aim to promote real inclusivity and follow the Constitution's vision of equality. They argued that the word only in the definition should not be read so narrowly, and discrimination can be understood in a wider sense. They added that anyone facing issues can still file complaints under these rules, and that there is no need for a stay without hearing the full defense in its entirety. Now, they compared it to how disability benefits are not given to everyone, but are focused where it is needed. They also warned that staying these rules, putting them in abeyance, suddenly could create law and order problems on campuses. Is it possible to write anti-discrimination rules that protect everyone without diluting protections for those who need them the most? How do we balance constitutional commitments to affirmative action with constitutional commitments to equality? Will the centre roll back? And that's a major question. Will it roll back or fully rewrite the UGC regulations after this stay or abeyance? Or will it push to defend and modify them in these coming weeks? We're going to quickly go across and go through these questions. With me on the broadcast, Ashok Bharti, Chairman, National Confederation of Dalit and Adivasi Organizations. Rahul Ishwar, author and activist, is soon going to be with us. And Sanjay Chadha, advocate with the Supreme Court, with us here on the broadcast. Mr. Bharti, let me quickly begin this snowball with you. We've been discussing this for the last 2 days as well. Some argue that any stay on these kind of measures aimed at social justice is regressive, something that the court themselves said, some of those top courts that are going to be playing out on our screens as well. On the other hand, others say that this is just badly drafted, and a badly drafted justice can cause more harm than no justice at all. Where should the balance lie? After today's arguments, I'm sure you've heard them as well. How do you view the Supreme Court stay? Is it a setback? Is it a pause? Are we looking at an improvement of the laws? Are we going to look at a completely different picture in the days to come? What's going to happen next?
No, I think what Supreme Court has said and stayed, we had expected that very well, because we know that the way things move in this country, socially, politically, educationally, the very first chance where the equity and inclusion is brought in picture whether it is the case of the reservation, whether it is the case of quota or SC/ST law or anything, the Supreme Court has uh, only one message: put on hold everything. So they have done it. We have no issue on that, and let the Supreme Court take its time and decide on these.
But Mr.
But I
Bharti,
would
aren't
certainly
those
ask.
progressive steps? Just to say that they don't have any other option would be diluting the purview of what the Supreme Court said. I was going through the the arguments as well. There are several other cases. The entire the top court of the land can't just keep everything aside and give the entire day to these regulations and this particular case.
Absolutely.
I mean, just to say that they have no other option, they put a stay because this is the pattern and this is predictable. I think that's where we're going a little wrong. We're diluting this. But talk to us about the new committee. There's a new committee that's going to be set up. Notices to the center have been issued. I mean, the train has certainly moved to another station.
No, that one is that the modality that Supreme Court has normally adopted in cases where the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC seeks justice. That is one modality. The second is the issue of the justice. And, I have read that there are the one important comment that on Article 3C and 3E, which Supreme Court has commented upon. And I'm sure that the Supreme Court judges know the caste-based discrimination is certainly different from the racial discrimination or gender discrimination or other kind of discrimination. And particularly in case of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and OBCs, the caste discrimination is much more serious. Let me put a small, example that recently in Rewa in Madhya Pradesh, one Brahmin, removed the choti of a Yadav person. He was not a scheduled caste. So I guess that in this country, in this culture, or in this religion, whatever you can say, the upper caste think that they can do everything and get away with this. Whether it is discrimination, whether it is exclusion, whether social boycotting. That when this so-called agitation begin, they have given a call: no doctor will visit Dalit, Adivasi, OBC, and no shopkeeper will sell.
And some other horrible things have also been said. You're absolutely right. Some other horrible things have also been said.
Yeah.
But
So
I
that's
think
what
it
I'm
was
saying,
Advocate
that
Indira
in this
Jaising who had
country-
said. It was the
I'll just
advocate who had
complete-
said.
I'll just complete- I'll
Yeah,
just complete
it
the
was about
sentence.
discrimination within discrimination. The 3E and the 3C and 3F point that you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
3E does not specifically talk about the caste-based discrimination with the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and OBC. It talks discrimination in general. There are two kinds of discrimination in this country. One, discrimination in general, and this is the accepted norms and the rule of law in this country. The discrimination with scheduled caste, scheduled tribe is given a different connotation in the law in this country. And that's what the UGC has done. I'm not, so I'm sure that when the case will go on argument and whether they will learn it, they will argue with each other.
Right.
I'm sure those issues will be taken care of. But at this point of time, I suppose the question that Supreme Court had it in mind, the way there is a.
But Mr.
hooliganism
Bharti,
going on,
I'm just
so
trying to
they
be the
want
devil's
twist that.
advocate here. Imagine there's a disabled person, especially abled rather. They will say that why not give us a subclause as well? If Part E says discrimination all across for all stakeholders, then the people who are facing discrimination on the basis of gender will come out and say, why not give us another subclause that talks about gender discrimination? Why only give a specific subclause for caste discrimination? I'm just asking you a question here. Think about it. I'll come to you right on the other side. Let me bring in the advocate with us on the broadcast as well, Sanjay Chadha, advocate with the Supreme Court. Sir, in terms of maintainability, in terms of validity, decoding the constitutionality of it all, the Supreme Court has not struck down these regulations. It has put them in abeyance, citing vagueness, citing overbreadth. How should viewers really understand this move? And we're not here to, miff anybody or a particular community, not even Ashok ji. He'll also, calmly listen to what you have to say. Over to you, Mr. Chadha. What do you say?
Kabir, thank you very much. But I was surprised as to how Adani Ashok ji has said that he was expecting the judgment to be on the same line. I was surprised. Look, we have to see whether Ashok ji, me, or anybody, we are now looking for a caste neutral country. We are not here, inclusive society is what is required today. It is not that and if we will keep on fighting on these things, and I have also heard Shri Ashok ji saying that in Riva something had happened. Our country is not a small space.
But
It's such a huge
Advocate
country.
Chadda, the supporters of these regulations, just like Ashok ji as well, I've been speaking to a couple of them over the last 2 days. They're saying that yes, we need to become a more inclusive socio-cultural society, and for that,
Exactly.
these regulations are necessary.
No, Kabir, I have not yet completed. Even I am the supporter of this law.
Okay.
But please allow me 1 minute.
Yeah. Go
But
ahead.
as I said, that caste inclusive, we caste neutral. We need so where here what had happened? You have to, what the Supreme Court today said, that if we see the test of fairness, test of reasonableness is failed. What is test of reasonableness? That it is very clear that in this law we are rendering a set of persons without remedy. This is very clear. Ashok ji will agree to it. We are leaving a set of people who are so-called general category. Their remedy is not there. And it is prima facie from the very first day when there is a complaint. They are, the complaint is filed against, let's say journal category student, and from day one, within 15 days, it has to be concluded. There are various incidences. We are not going into that now. I just tell you this particular law which is being challenged. It is challenged on 4 counts.
Okay.
First, that it is one-sided. It is talking about one side, so that I just explained. Second, which is also that it is Article 14, 15, and 21. It is violative of these 3 articles. How? If you want, I can elaborate that also. The definition which is given, 3C, violation, 3C definition is not very clear. And fourth, which is very important, is if, let's say, what will happen if there is a false complaint? So these were the 4 things where it was challenged on these 4 counts. Now, what Supreme Court says, they have given a very welcome suggestion, I feel, that let not the court, not the government, not anybody else, let certain jurists, important, prominent jurists should evaluate it. Where is the need and what exactly?
You're absolutely right. We do need to specify on what this committee is going to look like. That's coming right on the other side. Do stay on with us, Advocate Chadda and Bharti ji, do stay on with us. A quick commercial breather. And on the other side, we'll talk about the vagueness and the misuse aspect that the Supreme Court highlighted once again today. The 4 points that Advocate here is talking about. But I think it goes beyond that. We do need to question some other things as well. That's coming right on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया। घर है वही जहाँ सब संग हो, रिश्तों को रंग दो, दुनिया को रंग Birla Opus Paints.
फाइनली हमारा घर।
तुम्हारी जिद का नतीजा।
मैं नहीं होती तो तुम्हारा क्या होता?
इनकी जिद ने आज इन्हें दिया एक परमानेंट एड्रेस टाटा कैपिटल होम लोन्स के साथ।
To be on top of the game, it demands precision and skill, focus and timing, to be adaptable and agile. And when beaten down, to only come back stronger. That's why, leading the Kolkata Royal Tigers, I feel the same adrenaline rush I've experienced over the decades. Indian Racing Festival, time to gear up India.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with In Your Interest. With the UGC rules now in abeyance, the spotlight shifts to a question whether these laws were badly drafted or was the law flawed in the first place. With me on the broadcast, Ashok Bharti, who's the chairman, National Confederation of Dalit and Adivasi Organizations. Rahul Iswar, author and activist. I can finally see you on my screens. Many thanks for joining us here. Sanjay Chadda, advocate, Supreme Court. Rahul, let's give you a quick voice. I need to go across the board, so please exercise brevity, my request to all. You've argued, yesterday we were talking about the same thing. You argued that UGC, these regulations, they risk overreach and there could be moral policing, and that's what you were talking about. Did today's Supreme Court stay that the rules in abeyance, do they validate those concerns? How do you look at what the top court said today and the top courts that were made from the top court?
Absolutely. Those concerns are validated by the Honorable Supreme Court and the Apex Court. Let's remember, caste, community can be very contentious issues. So as you rightly pointed out earlier, the laws could have been drafted better. There were a lot of spaces for ambiguity. There were spaces whether the laws could be misused. Such a sensitive issue like caste, religion, race, they ought to have been dealt with more sensitively. That's the reason why the Savarna base of BJP also revolted against it. So it could have been, such a sensitive issue. This can, bring forth those fault lines in Indian consciousness and psyche. So it should have been handled with much more care. Thanks to Honorable Supreme Court that they stepped in. But I still stand with the point that our Adivasi, SC, ST, OBC community brothers need to be helped and more justice should be given. But please remember, it should not be.
So what's the right way? What's the right way then, Rahul? How do we go about that? You're talking about social and socio-political fault lines. A portion of society is putting sweets in each other's mouth. The other portion is, really not very happy with what happened in the Supreme Court. Where are we headed then?
I would humbly request those kind of ladoos being shared. These can be avoided because that can really rub salt in another person's mind. So let us be responsible about these. Let us have social insight. Let us respect each other. Find consensus. Please remember the way ahead in any contentious issue, whether it is a black and white issue in America, whether it is a caste issue in India, it is by consensus. Let the social leaders, spiritual leaders, socio-political leaders come together and talk and find solution. Just one submission. We need to have a mechanism to check the fake complaints. Otherwise, the kids will always be at risk and they will always feel that they will be persecuted by a false complaint. So there needs to be checks and balances, but we have to bring two aspects together. It is not A versus B, but it is always A plus B. That is integration.
I think that's a great way to put it. A plus B, not A versus B. So, Ashokji, the court has flagged misuse and vagueness. We were earlier talking about discrimination within discrimination. Many, lawyers argued when you have Part E, then is there really a need for Part C? And if there is a need for Part C, then why not specific parts for, gender inclusion, part for disabled people, a special section and a clause for women? I mean, those are some questions that will come about. Is the answer now to refine these safeguards and move front? How do you see this new committee being worked around? क्या लग रहा है आपको? कहाँ जा रही है ये रेलगाड़ी?
देखिए, the one thing that I would like to share that this very guideline which are being discussed were not prepared or not written by the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe or OBC. It was written by the University Grant Commission headed by Dr. Vineet Joshi. Other people, of course. So the way it is being projected as everything has been done by the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC in their own favor, which is completely incorrect. Now, so therefore, we as Supreme Court has directed, many people will sit again and they will redesign it. But I'll come to Mr. Chadda's argument. He's an advocate.
Okay.
And being an advocate, he knows the various laws that are made, for example, Dowries Act. If suppose the laws are made not to acquit the culprits, let there be 1,000 criminals be left, no innocent person be punished. So that is the principle of the law. Am I right, Mr. Chandra?
Absolutely.
Now, in this case, so what and how do we, when the government or anybody, even if Mr. Chadda heads a committee or Ishwar, my colleague that
Yeah. Go ahead.
So they have to look into the purpose of the law. What is the purpose of the law? The purpose of this guideline is to bring equity and inclusion.
Yeah.
And let me ask, what is the problem with bringing this equity and inclusion? Okay. And
No,
we know that
absolutely. The
India has
problem is not.
India has a very a history where the exclusion, discrimination, caste-based atrocities, everything is in very real sense exist.
It exists across the world. Ashokji, it exists across the world. If we as humans and specifically here as Indians need to strive for an inclusive society, something that Chadda ji said that he is for the regulations. He said he's for the regulations.
There are, Kabir, that across the globe,
there
exists such cell in all the universities. I was academic board member of the University of South Australia.
So I think the bottom line is clear. The bottom line is clear.
Committee in the Harvard is there. Everywhere is
this
there.
This is not the end of the equity debate. This is not the end of the equity debate. But nobody is saying this is the end of the equity debate. Rahul right now said let's not use the sweets to rub wounds on other people's, rub salt on other people's wounds. Ashokji said. Ashokji, Mr. Advocate Chadda was here saying that he was for the rules. It's just that the vagueness that the Supreme Court pointed out, let's work around it and we can put more safeguard rails here and let's hope that this pause is for more precision. That's the only thing. And we're going to leave it at that. We're going to continue talking about this here on In Your Interest. Rahul, many thanks for joining us. Ashokji, always a pleasure to have you with us here on the broadcast. And thank you, Mr. Chadda, for pointing those 4 issues out. A quick commercial breather here and our second segment coming right on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
रश्मि, ये मैडम बड़े शहर से छोटे शहर बसने जा रही है, बताओ।
अंकल इंडिया के छोटे छोटे शहरों में ही तो है बड़े बड़े अखाड़े।
नए नए दावपेच सीखेगी और फ्यूचर में मेडल जीतेगी। और बेटा इनका फ्यूचर?
बड़े पापा, SBI लाइफ से इनका फ्यूचर सिक्योर है।
अभी तो इसकी जीत का इरादा पक्का है। करो पूरे अपने इरादे,
अपनों से किए सभी वादे।
SBI लाइफ अपने लिए,
अपनों के लिए।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
तेरी एक जिद और फैक्ट्री वर्कर्स सब डबल।
रिटायर हो जाऊं क्या?
अच्छा, बिजनेस के लिए लोन का आइडिया किसका था? पर बुढ़ापा आ गया हो।
इनकी जिद ने कारोबार भी बढ़ाया और रोजगार भी, टाटा कैपिटल बिजनेस लोन्स के साथ।
Open it up, what do you see? A champion inside you and me. Run, sing, build, dream so high, touch the stars, reach the sky. At Orchid School we all believe every child's born to achieve.
Well, our second segment tonight is truly in your interest. It's about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not about speed alone anymore. It's about sovereignty, it's about stability, and needless to say, it's about survival. Let's break that down for you. On the second segment tonight, we discuss a technology that everyone is talking about, but few truly understand. AI, artificial intelligence. And for a country like India, with over 1 billion people and millions entering the workforce every year, AI is not just a technological question. It's an existential economic challenge. The Economic Survey 2025-2026, tabled in the Parliament today, has a full chapter on the evolution of the artificial intelligence ecosystem in India and the way forward. It calls artificial intelligence the biggest disruption ahead of the future of work, one that will change the globe economy in deeper ways than you can imagine. The survey points out that India, with its young population and large workforce, stands in a special position. AI brings both big opportunities and with it serious risks. Whilst the impact will be felt everywhere, it is much larger for India because of the sheer size of our labor force and our lower per capita income. At the same time, by using our young, dynamic and tech-savvy people, India can build a workforce that uses AI to make work better and more productive. The key is to turn our demographic dividend into real strength, all through artificial intelligence. Now, the survey also looks at how AI connects to geopolitics and bigger global risks. Rising tensions between countries could make AI risks worse. Security and political issues are now driving tech policies more than just efficiency. Export controls and restrictions might limit India's access to advanced AI tools and global supply chains. And on top of that, fast technological change, geopolitical conflicts, and climate risks are all coming together, and trade wars or tech blocks could add to economic instability around the world. When it comes to India's labor market, the survey is clear about the dangers. AI could hit low skill and low productivity jobs the hardest. With our huge workforce, the scale of this disruption is very high. Jobs in low value IT and services are especially at risk from automation. But if we do large scale upskilling, AI can help people in higher skilled work do even better. Getting AI right is crucial to making sure our demographic dividend does not turn into a problem. Now, the survey raises alarms about the global AI infrastructure boom. It warns that heavy debt and capital intensive investments in artificial intelligence carry high risks. Much of this growth is concentrated in a few big firms making big speculative bets. There is a 10 to 20% chance that an artificial intelligence bubble could burst this year in 2026. And if it happens along with the rising geopolitical tensions, it might trigger a crisis like or even worse than 2008. The macroeconomic effects could be severe. Instead of chasing that path, the survey suggests a different way for India, a bottom-up, application-led approach to AI. It focuses on practical uses in areas like agriculture, healthcare, and education to solve real Indian problems. Market-led skilling and apprenticeships are seen as important steps to get ready for artificial intelligence. The survey says we need to remove unnecessary regulatory hurdles so that local AI efforts can grow. Overall, the strategy puts inclusive growth first rather than trying to win races to build the biggest models and modules out there. The big questions that we are asking on the segment tonight. By focusing on applications rather than model building, do we risk becoming permanently dependent on foreign technology for core AI infrastructure? How can we protect millions of low-skilled workers from AI disruption whilst making sure upskilling reaches them fast enough? And if an AI bubble bursts this year in 2026, as the survey warns, is India prepared for the economic fallout? With me on the broadcast, Professor Dr. Parin Somani, CEO, London Organization of Skills Development. Many thanks for taking out the time, Doctor. Pavan Duggal, Chief Executive, Artificial Intelligence Law Hub. Many thanks. Febin John James, founder AI Both, with us on the broadcast as well. I'm going to quickly go across to Dr. Somani. Dr. Somani, help the viewers understand this first and foremost. The economic survey clearly warns of an AI bubble that could be worse than 2008. It could burst this year in 2026. From a cyber and an infrastructure and industry lens, what makes AI different from the previous tech booms that we've seen in terms of systemic risk, and where does India lie in that equation?
First of all, namaste to all of you. I just wanted to say the economic survey recommendation for the phase AI adoption strategy should not be misunderstood as a reluctant or as a fear. We should take it as a challenge. In fact, it reflects strategy, maturity, and it shows that the India is thinking not just about today's headline, but about tomorrow's consequences. So India has always believed that the true progress is not measured by speed alone, but by sustainability, inclusivity, and the long-term national interest. Let me first address the concern that phrased AI strategy could put India out of the global era of AI race. The global AI race today is largely being defined by who can invest the most capital, who can develop the largest computing power, and who can scale the fastest. So, however, the history teaches us the race driven purely by the speed often come at the highest cost approaches in a financially, socially, and the ethical way. The India's approach recognizes that leadership in AI is not about running blindly, but about running wisely.
I mean, could you blame them, Professor? Because, I mean, it is the initial stages, and funding and capital is what they need at this point in time. Pawan Duggal, Chief Executive, Artificial Intelligence Law Hub. Good evening to you, sir. India's IT backbone, questions that have been raised on that as well. It runs on global cloud infrastructure and all foreign AI infrastructure, AI platforms. In a worst case AI crash, where does India stand? In the face of geopolitical escalations, how exposed is India's digital economy? We've run through the entire points in our introduction as well. Where does India find itself in that equation?
Well, I think India needs to have a more holistic approach. It's begun well by understanding and highlighting the need for this preparedness for this AI bubble to be burst. India is not alone. A large number of tech giants, including Sam Altman and Elon Musk, have already identified the overheating of the space. And once this overheating could lead to some bizarre economic results. But having said that, let's remember one thing. Artificial intelligence is a different ballgame altogether. So connecting it to 2008 economic crisis may not necessarily be the correct approach. Why? Because AI has come to invade and be an integral part of everybody's life. People have started using AI. So the use cases of AI, leave aside anything, in internet search, in almost every activity of human endeavor, is well documented. That being so, I do not expect an immediate collapse. Yes, there might be some setbacks, but the important issue is, while we are looking at cyber resilience and looking at a resilient mindset, we also need to be prepared to say, hold on, we are looking for this new kind of a meltdown scenario. What about happens if the meltdown does not happen? What happens if AI continues to grow with quantum leaps and bounds? In such a scenario, we need to even focus on what should be the Indian approach. So the current Indian approach of trying to develop its own large language model is more necessitated out of the need for protecting Indian sovereign interests rather than an economic need per se. But clearly, when India is now being made a potential target of digital colonialism, where Indians have begun to start rusting their cognitive thought processes and they have begun to start taking AI for granted, I think the time has come where the government needs to work in the
So what happens next, Mr. Duggal? You're absolutely right. I mean, and that's exactly what I was thinking about as well. The concerns that have been mentioned in this economic survey, of course, there is the aspect of sovereignty and stability, but what about the labor sector? India's IT sector, it thrives on the low cost, the scalable, work that the cheap labor does, exactly what artificial intelligence automates, and with that kind of speed, and it does so well. What happens then? Is this an existential moment for that cheap IT labor that we're so good at? What's the next pivot for us?
Very, very clearly, we are at a very important cusp. And the cusp is very clear. All these cheap labor jobs may be obliterated by AI very, very quickly. We need to be prepared for that. And therefore, we need to come up with a new mindset, a new economic approach. This economic survey is just giving us a torch, a light into the way of darkness. But clearly, we have to walk the walk per se. We do not, we cannot rest on our laurels and say, look, we will do this low-hanging, low-paying jobs. Why? Because AI is going to take all of that. But at the same time, AI will create new jobs, new opportunities. It's time for skilling Indians in such a manner that they can be now more prepared to take up new job opportunities which are now being thrown up by the
You're
AI
absolutely right,
ecosystem.
Mr. Duggal. But I'm here sitting and wondering and thinking what happens to the large strata of Indians and our countrymen that we are unable to upskill. Are we just going to leave them behind, leave them in the lurch? That's one thing that just crosses my mind at this point in time. I know we can't have answers for every question at this point in time. Febin John James, my apologies, a founder AI both with us on the broadcast. What do you think? Is AI fundamentally a job destroyer, or are we measuring the wrong kinds of work here? What do you make of the economic survey from a global perspective? Is India being too cautious right now? Are we being simply realistic? Where do you stand on that front?
Well, so to answer a couple of your questions, one is how is the risk factor for the jobs? Definitely, low-cost jobs are going to be completely scrapped out, and there is absolutely no question about it. Primarily because I could see that in employment as well, where you could just do it yourself than delegating to someone and wait for a day to kind of get things happen, right? So that is completely obliterated. But at the same time, again, technology has shown us like a history, rhymes, right? So, for example, what happened when YouTube came up? It created a lot of individual creators to kind of like pick up a lot of things which only would have been possible by the traditional media, right? Similarly, here you will see new entrepreneurs coming up, and I think India is in a good position where if you stop thinking that skilling direction is essentially important, but at the same time, if there are more entrepreneurs coming up, right, they can leverage that. Like now, for you to set up a company, you don't have to have so many labor and things like that.
No,
research.
that's right.
And
I
that
get your
will-
point. I get your point. You're saying new entrepreneurs are going to come in, but what happens when which the survey has flagged again, that there is concentration of AI power in just a few firms. There are only a few big players, and how many are really in India?
See, that doesn't matter. I would say why that doesn't matter right now, primarily because of open source AI. So if tomorrow AI crashes, that is very unlikely possibility, but say in case that OpenAI or Anthropic goes away, we have a lot of open source models like Gemma. If you go through Hugging Face models, there's a lot of open source set of models which you can actually run on your laptop. So I don't think the power is concentrated. Like if you are saying about 2-3 years back, yes, the power is concentrated. But now due to open source stuff, right? Like anyone with a video phone, camera can take and be a journalist as such, right? In certain ways. Similarly, anyone with a laptop and with a good, decent amount of, GPU power can run these models. And I don't think the power is concentrated on, a few firms anymore.
Okay. All right. Professor, if the choice is between frugal AI and frontier AI, do you think this is going to be a trade-off, or can India as a country who's looking towards this AI boom realistically pursue both a frontier AI and a frugal AI at that?
I personally think India is not rejecting the innovation, number one. India is choosing the responsible innovation. A phrase adoption strategy allows us to experiment, learn, correct, and strengthen before scaling nationally. So this is not delayed, this is an intelligent move. So I think we shouldn't be thinking on that level, but we should come out of the bubble of fear. And I think what AI can do, even though we are going more than beyond our understanding, but then, yes, that is the way. But in fact, the same approach that made India's digital public infrastructure a global success. We all know that. Andhra, Aadhaar, like Aadhaar and UPI and the digital governance system were not rushed recklessly, but they were carefully built, tested, then scale to save over billions of people.
Yep.
So now let us talk about the strategic autonomy, because this is where AI becomes a matter of national sovereignty. So think about it.
No,
Artificial
I think Mr. Dugal
intelligence
raised that
today-
point very clearly, and I'm just trying to understand, where does India draw that line? Mr. Dugal, where does India finally draw that line? Playing it safe is going to be criticized on the global stage. The economic survey, like you said, has led the way. It's that torchlight that's lighting up that tunnel. But what's at the end of the tunnel, and how long is this tunnel?
Well, the tunnel is ending very, very soon. Unfortunately, we are not prepared to reach to the end of the tunnel. Why? Because by the time next year, we should see artificial general intelligence coming in. In 2 years, the world will be seeing super intelligence coming in. India is not prepared at all. I think it's time that we will have to prepare the Indian ecosystem. The legal frameworks are not at all in place.
Do we
India
have the
does not
wherewithal
have
to prepare our ecosystem, Mr. Dugal?
Yes, we'll have to do everything, and everybody has to contribute in preparing this ecosystem to be more resilient, more AI resilient. Why? Because AI is now the only tiger that we are running, that we are riding, and this tiger is continuously running. Unfortunately, we do not have the ability to get off the tiger. Therefore, India as a nation will have to go ahead and calibrate its strategies on how to maneuver this AI tiger while it continues to run the entire space. So I think a lot of work needs to be done. Everybody needs to contribute.
No, certainly a lot of work that needs to be done. Yeah, Professor, I'm going to come back to you. Let me bring in Febin here. Febin, for the longest time, India has been looked at as a market. Even for that YouTube example and analogy that you were giving, India is a market. How many UK-based and Scotland-based YouTube creators are specifically targeting Indian markets? The videos are being dubbed in Hindi so that they can be consumed more. I'm just worried, does India risk of becoming another AI consumer than an AI creator? Is that a possible concern to look at?
It is definitely I think we are already in that, right? For example, presently the popular names which a lot of Indians use is ChatGPT or Claude. We don't have a native, an AI general, intelligence yet. So coming to your point is that we are at that risk. And one more thing, frankly, which I've seen is that Indian firms don't have the courage to kind of invest those millions of dollars which other people are investing in R&D, and that is also another major concern as such. But at the same time, I just finish it with one point: is that there is something which is there in the frugal part of AI, which a lot of global firms are not overlooking. I mean, they are overlooking in the sense that there are these small models which is very specific to Indian agricultural outcomes or healthcare and education. There is something there which India can still innovate with very less amount of money as such. And I think that could be something like a UPI which showcase the other nations. We might also as well show, but it will take some time.
All right, many thanks for those comments, Professor. My apologies, I'm being told by the control room that I've completely run out of time here. I think if at all an AI infrastructure bubble bursts globally, what economies are going to be most vulnerable? There are going to be two aspects to look at that. Those that are racing ahead or those that adopt selectively. And like Mr. Dugal pointed out, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. On that note, Febin, Professor, and Mr. Dugal, many thanks for taking out the time and speaking to us. AI is no longer a question of speed alone. It's a question of stability, sovereignty, and survival. India now faces that choice. Race blindly or build wisely. Well, some food for your thought.
रश्मि,
हाँ?
ये मैडम बड़े शहर से छोटे शहर बसने जा रही है, बताओ।
अंकल अंकल, इंडिया के छोटे छोटे शहरों में ही तो है बड़े बड़े अखाड़े।
नए नए दावपेच सीखेगी और फ्यूचर में मेडल जीतेगी। और बेटा, इनका फ्यूचर?
बड़े पापा, SBI लाइफ से इनका फ्यूचर सिक्योर है।
अभी तो इसकी जीत के इरादा पक्का है। करो पूरे अपने इरादे,
अपनों से किए सभी वादे।
SBI लाइफ अपने लिए,
अपनों के लिए।
अर्जुन कुछ भी पढ़े मेमोरी में नहीं रहता।
नो एडेड शुगर, प्रिजर्वेटिव के बिना। डेट्स, बादाम, पिस्ता, काजू और शहद से तैयार किया गया लायन डेट्स नट बाइट्स।
लायन डेट नट बाइट्स।
टाटा कैपिटल 2 व्हीलर लोन्स के साथ इसने की अपनी नई बाइक की जिद पूरी।
पड़ता है उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Welcome back, viewers. Union Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu has replied to Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis on the aircraft crash, stating that the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has launched a formal investigation. The minister said the black box has been secured and the probe is being conducted under the Aircraft Accident and Incident Rules in a transparent and time-bound manner. All technical records, operational details and evidence from the accident site are being examined. He also added that the ministry has taken note of the state government's request to prevent such incidents in the future and said appropriate measures will be implemented once the investigation report is submitted. The union minister also sought full cooperation from the Maharashtra government and local administration for the inquiry, adding that the final report will be shared with the state government. Now viewers, this comes as Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis wrote to the Union Ministry of Civil Aviation seeking a detailed probe into the recent plane crash in Baramati. In his letter to the Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu, the Chief Minister has urged the centre to investigate the circumstances leading to the accident and to ensure accountability. He has also emphasized the need to put in place strong preventive measures so that such incidents do not recur in the future. The state government, sources say, has assured full cooperation with central agencies as the investigation moves forward. Now viewers, Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis had sought that the final probe report of the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau be made available for the state government, and the Union Minister for Civil Aviation has also responded saying that every single angle will be investigated and it will be a time-bound and also very, very transparent investigation, and finally the report will be shared with the Maharashtra government.
The investigation has started, and the teams from the investigation has started. Like we have already released a press statement where the teams from AIB and DGCA have already arrived at the site yesterday. The black box has also been recovered and the investigation is in process. This time we'll be stressing upon having a very timeline approach so that we get the report done in an expeditious way. We have also Maharashtra has written a letter, and like I said, we have also written to them that we have started the investigation.
We have Sabyasachi joining us on the phone line. Sabyasachi, a very good evening to you. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis first wrote to the Minister of Civil Aviation Ram Mohan Naidu, and now Naidu has responded to Devendra Fadnavis saying that the final report of the investigation will be shared with the Maharashtra state government. What else are we picking up, Sabyasachi?
That's right, Deepak. Ram Mohan Naidu has sought the Maharashtra government's cooperation for the conduct of probe into the plane crash which killed Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra Ajit Pawar and 4 others at the Baramati airport. Now, in the letter to Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, the Ram Mohan Naidu had sought the government support for assessing the crash site, local administrative assistance and coordination with ground agencies, and the key outcome of the investigation will also be shared with the state government. And now the earlier Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis had urged the Union Minister to order a detailed inquiry into to find out the exact cause of the crash, and also requested for immediate steps to prevent such accident in the future. Ram Mohan Naidu has taken note of the Chief Minister's request to implement measures to prevent reoccurrence of such incident, and based on the investigation findings, necessary safety recommendation and regulatory or operational measures will be implemented in coordination with the DGCA and the AAIB. Deepak.
Right, Sabyasachi, thank you for joining me with those details. It's time for us to move on, viewers, because day after the deadly plane crash involving Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar, India's aviation safety apparatus is under deep scrutiny because recent parliamentary data paints a very, very worrying picture of staffing shortages in key aviation bodies. The DGCA, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, responsible for regulating civil aviation safety, has only 843 staff on duty out of 1,630 sanctioned posts, leaving a staggering 787 vacancies, nearly 50% of total positions, including 526 crucial technical positions for aircraft, passenger, and even cabin crew safety. And over the past 5 years, these shortages have persistently hovered at an alarming level. And the Airports Authority of India, meanwhile, is crippled by 9,719 vacant posts out of 25,730, while air traffic control is short of 1,274 personnel, operating with just 4,263 of the sanctioned 5,537 staffers. And these alarming gaps in staffing highlight serious risks in aviation oversight, raising urgent questions about safety standards and the need for immediate corrective action. Well, this is a very, very alarming picture that parliamentary data has painted as far as the staff shortages are concerned in the aviation sector. Viewers, Maharashtra bid a tearful farewell to its Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar, and the last rites of Ajit Pawar, who lost his life in a tragic plane crash yesterday, were performed with full state honours in Baramati in Pune district, the land he called home and the constituency that shaped his political journey. Draped in the national flag, Ajit Pawar's mortal remains were brought to the Vidya Pratishthan ground amid chants of Ajit Dada Amar Rahe. Thousands gathered, supporters, party workers, villagers, all united by a sense of disbelief and a loss that has shaken them to the core. From Union Home Minister Amit Shah and senior BJP leader Nitin Gadkari to former Union Minister Sharad Pawar and BJP President Nitin Nabin, leaders across party lines stood shoulder to shoulder, paying their last respects to the 66-year-old Nationalist Congress Party chief. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde were also present, underlining the rare political unanimity that marked this final goodbye. And standing closest to the pyre was Pawar's family. His wife Sunetra Pawar, a Rajya Sabha MP, their sons Parth and Jay, cousin and Lok Sabha MP Supriya Sule, and NCP Working President Praful Patel. Their grief was silent, their loss is immeasurable. And earlier in the day, Ajit Pawar's mortal remains were taken from Punya Shlok Ahilya Devi Government Hospital in Baramati, where they had been kept overnight, to his native village, Katewadi. One final journey through a familiar soil for Ajit Pawar. And 4 others were also killed when their aircraft crashed just 200 meters short of a tabletop airstrip, a sudden and tragic end to a life steeped in power, influence and mass connect. Today, Baramati mourns its Ajit Dada, and Maharashtra mourns a leader whose political legacy will be debated for years, but whose absence is already being deeply felt across the country. These were the pictures from earlier in the day when the entire community came together. Fans, followers, party leaders, party colleagues, cabinet colleagues, former union ministers, Rajya Sabha MPs, family members, all of them uniting in Baramati to pay an emotional farewell to their dear leader Ajit Pawar, who unfortunately lost his life in a deadly plane crash yesterday after the Learjet crashed right next to runway 11 of the Baramati airfield. And Ajit Pawar was accorded full state honours in his final rites. And these are the pictures that we tracked, where you could see from Union Home Minister Amit Shah to Praful Patel and Devendra Fadnavis, and also Ajit Pawar's wife Sunetra Pawar, to their sons and cousins Supriya Sule. All of them were present. They were standing shoulder to shoulder in this moment of grief.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Windows down, chasing dreams on a net.
With Skoda Supercare and growing network across 180 plus cities, you never drive alone.